Listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Young Engineers of Today. Sorry about being a couple of minutes late. I ran into a couple of things I had to get done beforehand, and they ran a bit longer than I expected. But that was my fault, I apologize. I hope everybody had a good weekend. I hope you had some good time to relax. And, well, on a probably very expected note, we're going to continue with Fusion 360 and CNC. Now, if I remember correctly, we got about this far, right? That was we managed to get the material onto the or the appearance onto the bookcase, and not really any further than that. Because if that's the case, then we've got a bit of work to do today. So anyway, let me go ahead and get Fusion 360 open so that we can get started on this. That will go ahead and get started up. Anybody do anything interesting this weekend? Okay. Archery shoot. Nice. I like archery. I'm no good at it, but I like it. I took a couple of classes, and my friend has, actually a couple of my friends have bows, so we go out shooting sometimes. Robotics competition. Oh, you know how you did? Nice. Congratulations. It wasn't Amazing Mechatronics, was it? Or NCSO, North Carolina Science Olympiad? Only reason I ask is because I was at that. Oh, okay, first tech challenge. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I helped out a little bit with that at the community college in Charlotte before I moved out here. Just gonna check something real quick. Okay, looks good. Excellent. All right, so it looks like this is where we left off last time. We've got two what's the word I'm looking for? Two rectangles. Yes, we were getting the tabs started on the kick plate. We drew the rectangles and got them dimensioned out, but we hadn't done anything with them yet. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're actually going to be putting tabs on pretty much everything today, or as much as we can get done, and getting the bookcase ready, or at least more ready, for construction. Because like we were saying last time, there was a bit of an issue with what we'd had so far, and that is the fact that regardless of whether or not the bookcase looks complete, we don't actually have any means of affixing everything to everything else on the bookcase. In other words, we don't have any holes for screws or anything like that, so what we're doing is we're creating these tabs that we can then use to sort of assemble it all together like a like a jigsaw puzzle, or you know those things that have they're like flat sheets of metal that have designs punched out on them, and you separate the different parts and you bend them, and then you put together like a model or something. Somehow your whole entire bookshelf is one entire body. Ooh, that'll be a little bit more time consuming to fix. Um, it's possible. So what you can do is under modify, you can split bodies like we were doing in the video. And basically when it asks for planes to split the body along, like the splitting tool, you can select, like for instance, let's see here. Let's say you wanted to separate the top from this sidewall here. You could select the bottom face of this top. Let me go ahead and rotate it downwards. Move up. Like if you selected this face here, it would use it as the plane in order to separate these two bodies. And then you could just do that with all of these. So like you would split this sidewall off from the back and the shelves by selecting this face. You would separate this shelf from the back by using the face on the back. You know, you would separate the kick plate from the bottom shelf by using the bottom face on the kick plate or on the shelf. Things like that. Does that make sense? It'll be time consuming, but it will be possible to do. Okay. So, in the meantime, though, show of hands for everybody who has their rectangles drawn and dimensioned out like I do here. I don't exactly remember if we managed to get everybody on the same page last time around, so I just wanted to double check. Yeah, that's going to be the tricky thing about this, because you select the body, which would be the entire bookshelf, and then you can. We'll figure that out piece by piece, but we should be able to get everything separated by the end of class, or after class rather. Okay, we got one hand up, two hands up, three. Raise your hand then if you have the rectangles drawn and you're just missing the dimensions for them. Okay, raise your hand if you don't have the rectangles drawn at all. Okay, that's okay. No big deal. So in order to get started, this might be a little bit more difficult, Micaiah, since everything's a single body for you. We'll just spend some time after class getting your bookshelf ready and maybe getting you up to this point again, so that you should be good to go for next class. Okay, so for you guys who don't quite have the rectangles drawn yet, I'll just go ahead and undo a couple of steps so that you can see it. Oh, I can't undo any further. Okay, good. Excellent. Well, then it just might be not a terribly interesting couple of minutes for you, in which case I apologize, but we'll get everybody caught up, and then we'll continue along. So hide everything except for the kick body. So you just have the kick plate right here, which is the bottom front-facing plate. And then you're going to create a sketch on the front face of it. Once you've created a new sketch, you're just going to create a couple of rectangles. You can just put them arbitrarily anywhere. It doesn't matter where exactly, just as long as there's one on the side and one on the top, because we're going to dimension those properly in a moment. And then I guess just raise your hand once you've gotten the rectangles drawn, then we'll go from there. Okay. We got one hand up. All right, so if you have the rectangles drawn, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to Sketch and Line. What we're going to do is we're going to sketch a line directly down the center of these rectangles. And the way you can tell you have the center is you see how I've got this triangle right here? Let me zoom in on it. It doesn't really make it any bigger. It doesn't make it any bigger. Well, anyway, there's a rectangle or a triangle there. That triangle means midpoint. Literally the middle of this line right here on the top. So move your cursor around on that top line until you find the midpoint. There should be I think a blue triangle that appears. Find that midpoint, click, and then create a line straight down. Do the same thing over here. Well, actually, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do that over here. You just have to do it along this top one here. So create that midpoint line. Now that line, when you first draw it, is going to be blue. And it's going to split this up into two rectangles. As you see, if I mouse over this, it's all one rectangle. What we need to do is we need to turn that line into a construction line, so it is not part of the illustration. Like you might have it like this. See, now I've got two rectangles and this blue line going straight down. If you click on it, though, you'll bring up this little menu on the right-hand side that says Sketch Palette. There's this top option that says Normal/Construction. Click that, and it will turn into an orange dotted line, which means it's a construction line, which is exactly what we want, because we're going to be using it for measurement purposes, and it's not actually going to be a part of the final product. All right. Now, ideally, you should have two rectangles, one on the side, one on the top. You've got a construction line down the center of the top rectangle, and everything's just kind of sitting in place. Now we got to dimension them. So go back up to Sketch, and then down to Sketch Dimension. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to dimension the width of this side tab. So dimension just this line on the left-hand side right here, the one that I have highlighted. Bring it out, And that dimension is going to be kick divided by 3. Once you have that done, dimension this top line here. So the top line of the left tab, that's going to be dimensioned with ply. So now we have the width and the length of this side tab, which is great. That's what we want so far. Now we have to get the distance of this side tab from the top of the kick plate. So what you can do is you can click, you notice that at the intersection of these two lines, the side line and the top line, if I put my cursor over it at that corner, a dot appears. Click on that dot, and then there should be another dot at the corner of the kick plate. Click on that dot. So it's going to be the distance from here to here. Then pull it out sideways so that we know it's going to be the vertical distance, not the horizontal distance, because then it'll freak out. Anyway, this distance is also going to be kick divided by 3. So now we've got 1/3 of the height of the kick plate, which is just empty space, 1/3 of the height of the kick plate, which is the tab, and then the remaining third is on the bottom, right here. Because I mean, we're dividing it into thirds, so that works out pretty nicely, right? So there we go. That should be the side tab all dimensioned out. Once that's done, we dimension the top tab. Now the top tab, the length of it, is also going to be ply. Basically how far it sticks out from the top of the kick plate. That's also going to be ply. No surprise there. I mean, all of these tabs are going to be ply, with the exception of a couple, but we'll get there. For right now, though, it's going to have a length of ply. And just to clear up any confusion or anything like that, when I refer to the length of the tab, I refer to the amount that the tab sticks out from whatever it's attached to. So in this case, this way is length on the top tab, and that way is length on the side tab. And then width is going to be the lateral size of the tab. So again, that's going to be the width on the top tab, and then this is going to be the width on the side tab. It's a little confusing because of the fact that it's relative, but hopefully that, that'll make sense to you if it doesn't already. You guys are pretty smart though, I think you can pick it up. So once you've got the length of that tab dimensioned, the width of the tab is going to be tab, conveniently. That's why we created that user preset. It's for most of the tabs on this bookshelf are going to be a width of tab. And again, because, exceptions are fun, there are always going to be a couple of exceptions to the rule, this being one of them. But for now, a pretty safe assumption is that the width of any tab is going to be tab. Now, that's almost everything. There is one more thing we have to do, though. We have to dimension the distance of this tab to the end of the kick plate. So the distance from here to here. Now, that's not the way we're actually going to distance it. What we're actually going to use is the distance from there to, wait, good Lord, distance from there to there. So that's why we're using this midpoint construction, or this midpoint construction line, is because we're going to use it for sketching a dimension here. So you're going to start at the origin, which as you can see is easily identifiable by its sort of half-filled in circle or circle filled in by quarters. If you mouse over it, you get a point there. So just go ahead and click on that one, and then you're going to click on the midpoint construction line, which should highlight if you have it, if it's selectable. So between the midpoint highlight line and the origin, you're going to dimension it width divided by 3. And that should be it. That should be everything you need to dimension for these kickplate tabs. So just, again, to get an idea, raise your hand real quick if you're ready to move on to extruding these. Okay, I only got a couple of hands up. All right. Just about everybody. Well, in the interest of keeping things moving, let's go ahead and get started on the extruding. If you really got to go over it again, well, again, you can always ask me in the question box if there's anything you want me to go over again. Otherwise, once more, the video will go up on YouTube tonight, so you'll be able to get it back up to speed. All right. So we'll go up to create and then extrude. Remember, because that's how we extrude things. And here I am looking at my nice 2 tab sketched tabs. And we're going to select both of these because we want to extrude both of them, as one might expect. So you remember last week when we were creating the shelves and the kick plate and all of that stuff, there was that option to extrude it to a certain distance by selecting 2 under extents. And that's what we were doing, is that's how we would get the shelves extruded to the other side of the bookcase and stuff like that. We would use that particular option. We're going to use that again. Now, the nice thing is, 2 is very good at extrapolating what exactly you mean. So what we can do is, now that we have our faces selected, our sketches selected, we can select 2, and then we can just click on this back face of the kick plate. And it will automatically go, okay, so it should go that far, and then it will stop. So if we look at it from the side, our 2 tabs now are 3-dimensional, which is excellent. That's exactly what we want. And we're going to keep the operation on join for now, because I'm going to show you another way that we can mirror things. Although usually we will select new body like we have before. So we'll keep it on join, and we'll hit OK. And look at that, tabs. Wow. Although it seems kind of weird that our tabs are really only on one side. So what do you think we're going to do? Many ideas. I'll give you a hint. We used it last week. Okay, well, we're going to use mirror. We're going to be mirroring these tabs over onto the other side, because it seems kind of like a waste to have to redraw all those things again. when we can just have the computer do all the heavy lifting for us and figure everything out. So under Create, under Create, down here there's this option called Mirror, which again we used last week, but maybe it's not. We meet twice a week. It's not necessarily going to be fresh in your head. So go ahead and select Mirror. So first things first, we select the objects that are going to be mirrored. If we get on to pattern type, we notice that pattern faces is selected, which is excellent. We want that. We want pattern faces to be selected. And then we're just going to go through and select the faces on these tabs, not the front and back faces, because those are joined to the entire kick plate. And don't worry about how it won't necessarily make sense. Fusion will be able to extrapolate on those two sides and update the front and back faces in order to reflect that. Okay, so we've got, as you can see, I've got the side faces and the top face selected on each of these tabs. Pretty exciting, I know. And then we're going to have to select a mirror plane. Well, if you remember from last week, we had the foresight to create a midpoint or a midplane when we were mirroring the left and right walls, right? So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to use that. We're going to use this construction midplane as our reflection plane. So you can either just click on it here in the browser, or you can click on it so you can view it and then select it there. Anyway, I've got kind of like this weird preview here where there are only a couple of faces showing. That's okay. Fusion 360, when you use faces like this in order for reflection, it's not exactly the best at giving you a preview. So it's just going to look funky, but that's not a huge deal. If you hit OK, the tabs should appear. And then we'll have a fully tabbed undo. If anything like that happens, usually the best thing to do is just hit Control-Z and undo it. Oh, you mean you deleted your midplane? Is that what you're saying? Well, okay. So if it's actually the midplane that you deleted, what you can do is you can just bring back the left and right walls. Go to Construct and Midplane. And then when that menu, or actually, once you click that, then you can click the outside walls of the sidewall. So this wall, and then this wall, and it should generate a new midplane for you that you can use. But if any of you guys happen to delete that midplane, go ahead and do that and bring it back, because we're actually going to be using that midplane a fair amount in the upcoming days. So just so that you can replicate the tabs on both sides easily, because we're all about making our own lives easier. I mean, that's really the whole point of engineering when you get right down to it, is increasing quality of life and making it easier. So, hopefully, you guys should have your kick plate tabbed, or at least close to it. Now we're going to tab the bottom shelf. Exciting, I know. Try and hold your enthusiasm for the end, though. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Just make sure. Yeah, make the bottom shelf visible. Okay. Part of this is just me talking to myself because I want to see the dimensions. I don't remember them off the top of my head. Okay. So now that we got our bottom shelf visible, we're going to go up to Sketch and then Create Sketch on the top plane of the bottom shelf. Let me just verify. Yep, I got top on my cube up here. We're looking at the top of the bottom shelf right now. Then go back to Sketch, and we're going to create 3 rectangles. As always, don't worry about dimensions too much. We're going to fix that in a moment with the sketch dimension. But we got to have the rectangles first before we can do anything with them. So here we've got 2 on the side and 1 on the top. Once we have those sketched, we're going to sketch the midpoint lines again, except this time on all 3 tabs. So once again, find your midpoint as denoted by the light blue triangle when you mouse over the middle of the top sketch line. Bring it straight down, and then just repeat that process for these other 2. So now we've got our 3 lines. Now we just need to make those construction lines. If you hold down Shift and click on each one, it will select all 3. And then over here in the sketch palette, you can make them construction. And hey, look at that. We've now got 3 construction lines. I don't know why that triangle is upside down, but whatever. So now we've got our, oh, there's a shadow being cast by the sketch. That's confusing. Now we've got our 3 rectangles ready to be dimensioned. So once again, sketch dimension. Dimension this. The width of this bottom tab is going to be tab. Same with this tab. Same with this tab. All right, so now we've got the width of all 3 tabs. Now we're going to do the length. Ply, and ply. Perfect. Now we've got the size of the tabs down. We just have to do their placement. So now we're going to use this midpoint line, and we're going to do the distance between this midpoint line and this bottom point right here. Again, notice how I mouse over it, and I get a white dot. Sometimes it'll be a different color, but generally it's a white dot. Bring it out horizontally. This is going to be depth divided by 3. Because again, we're looking at it top down, right? So this is going to be the front of the bookshelf, and this is going to be the back. So this whole dimension right here is going to be the depth of the bookshelf. So we want to make sure that this distance right here is exactly 1/3, well, or as close to 1/3 as we can get of the depth. Boom. It's actually pretty close to the proper measurements on these. I know this one's going to mess up a little bit. So far, so good, right? Now we're going to use the distance between the midpoint line there and the midpoint line here. Bring it out a little bit. And again, depth divided by 3. And that should rein in this side tab a little bit. So now we've got tab for the width, ply for the length, and then depth divided by 3 for the distance between each of them and the distance between the frontmost side tab and the front of the bookcase, if that made sense. Now we're going to dimension between this midpoint line, so I'm going to click that so it's selected, and then come down and select the origin. And then just draw the dimension up, click, and we're going to make this width divided by 3. Hey, look at that. So now we've got our 3 tabs. I bet, based on the kick plate, you know where we're going with this. What do you think is going to be next? And then what's after that? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Well, we're going to extrude it now. So I'll go ahead and rotate this round. Spin it round, right round. Okay. So now we've got our 3 little drawings. Click, click, and a click to select all 3 of them. They're all blue now. So far, so good. We're going to use 2 for the extents and click right there. Now, before you hit OK, we're actually not going to join these. We're going to use new body. And the reason we're going to use new body is, well, you'll see in a minute. But we're going to use new body so that we've got these all nice and separated. You can see that there's the line right here denoting that they're a separate body. So hit OK. You can also see that they're a different color. They're a different color because they're a new body, they don't have the same appearance of the shelf. Which makes it easy for us because then we can easily tell whether or not they're a new body. So now what? What do you guys think? I'm determined to get an answer out of you guys at some point here. I'm just going to keep asking, now what? Stubborn, dang it. All right, well, we're going to mirror these. What are the dimensions for the tabs? Okay, so let me go ahead and bring this sketch back up real quick. So the width of all of these tabs is going to be tab, which is a user preset that you guys made in the very beginning. So they should all be tab, which also corresponds to 3 inches, but it's just, generally easier to type in tab. It's also a good habit to get into. The length of all these tabs is going to be ply. So the distance from the bookshelf to the end of the tab is going to be ply. So far we've got tab and we've got ply. Now, the distance between the front of the bookshelf and the midpoint line on this side tab is going to be depth divided by 3. Same deal up here. Distance between this midpoint line and this midpoint line is also going to be depth divided by 3. And that's all you need for these side tabs. There's one more dimension needed for the top tab, though. It's going to be the distance between the origin and the midpoint line on the top tab. That, back tab technically, but whatever. That one is going to be width divided by 3. So you're going to have the back tab move out a little bit. Maybe if you're like me and you draw it way too close to the edge. But those are all the dimensions you need for those tabs. So now we should have, once you extrude those, you should have your newly extruded separate bodies from the shelf. We're going to go ahead and mirror those. So now under pattern type, we're going to want to select pattern bodies. And then just select each of these tabs. Okay, no, just a trick of the eyes. Select each of these tabs, and then for mirror plane, again, we're going to use that midplane. And now you should see a preview of it reflected on the other side. Hit OK, and boom. Now we've got 6 tabs on that shelf. Now we have to create another 6 tabs on the top shelf. But it's a lot of work. There's an easier way to do it. What do you guys think that is? What do you think we can do to make our lives easier? If it helps at all, I can tell you that it's something we've used several times already. In fact, we just used it. That's pretty much a dead giveaway right there. Yeah, more mirrors. Exactly. Okay, but we need to create a plane for us to mirror with. So let's go ahead and let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and show the top shelf also. So now we've got the top shelves kind of floating above the bottom shelf in this strange sort of magical view. I don't know. I started that sentence with no idea how to finish it. Then we're going to go to construct and then midplane, just like we did for this one up here. So now you can either select, the bottom face here and the top face here, or if you're so inclined, you can select the top face here and the bottom face here. Regardless, whichever you go with, it either has to be the inside facing faces or the outside facing faces. I'm going to go ahead and use the inside one. So I'm going to select the top face of the bottom shelf and the bottom face of the top shelf. Boom. And then a midplane appears. Look at that. It is floating exactly in between the two shelves like some kind of magical cheese sandwich. don't know, kind of looks like cheese. Transparent cheese. Anyway, so now we've got our magical cheese sandwich here. We're going to mirror again. So create, mirror, make sure that pattern bodies is selected. You're going to select all of these tabs now. Now that we have 6 tabs that are ready to be mirrored, we're going to select all of these tabs. And then for mirror plane, select the midplane that you just created. And then you should see a preview. Unsurprisingly, Fusion is pretty consistent with that sort of thing. Cool. It should be, you know, they should be lined up with the top shelf. If they seem off, double check to make sure that your midplane is actually in the middle. Because, you know, like if you selected the top of both of these, the tabs would probably be floating a little bit above the top shelf if you tried to mirror it there. But anyway, there we go. Now we've got those objects mirrored. I'm going to go ahead and hide the construction plane. So everything looks a little bit more cleaned up. And now I'm going to go and do another thing. I'm actually going to combine the tabs into their respective shelves, so they all become one body. So if we go to modify, I swear I know these things, I just keep forgetting them. We go to modify and then combine. You get this menu that comes up, target body and tool bodies, operation, blah, blah, blah. We actually use this a little bit for something. So we used it last week somewhere. I just can't remember it right now. All right, so for target body, we're going to select the main shelf body. Hey, look at that. So now the whole thing's selected. Now for tool bodies, select each of the tabs. You don't have to hold down Shift, you can just click them, and it will keep selecting them. So in the end, we should have everything all selected. Just for the bottom shelf. We're going to repeat this process for the top shelf, but we want to make sure that we just do this for each shelf individually. So the shelf and all the tabs are selected for the bottom shelf. Operation join, hit OK, and look at that. They're now all one body, and they get the appearance of that main body. Awesome. Let's do that again with the top shelf. Select the top shelf as the target body. Select the tabs as your tool bodies. Make sure operation is on join, hit OK. Boom. So now, if we try and hide one of these shelves, the tabs go along with it. It's all one body. And if we were to, you know, take a look at this so far, you'll notice that the shelf is looking a little bit more detailed, because again we've got our tabs, which the other parts haven't been cut out of the shelf yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So far we have our top and bottom shelves, and we have our kick plate all tabbed up. But it's not enough. There's more. There's more that we have to tab. Hey, look, we were just doing this. Hey, this looks familiar. Let's do the back now. Let's at least get the back started so that we can continue working on this on Wednesday. So I'll show the back. Here's the back. You're just kind of sitting up there without a care in the world. We're about to tab it. Notice how I'm starting the sketch on the back of the back. So in order to give you guys a better idea of what you're looking at, this is the back of the bookshelf. We're looking at the back of the back. I can repeat myself a couple more times, I'm sure. I'm sure it's never old to hear. Anyway, create a sketch on this back plane. And then create, once again, 3 rectangles. Is it just 3? Yeah, it's just 3. Okay, cool. And these are like way off dimension-wise. Like they're going to be way bigger than this. They're going to be more spread out. But whatever. Again, it doesn't matter. Hey. And yeah, let's create the midpoint lines and then we'll call it a class. So, in case you don't remember, sketch and then line, then find the midpoint. Boom. Same deal down here. Find the midpoint. Boom. And finally, find the midpoint, and then boom. So now we're going to select all of these, hold down Shift, and click, and then click on Normal/Construction, and they all become construction lines. Hey, so now it's ready to dimension on Wednesday, and we'll get this looking like it should, and we'll probably get the last of the bookshelf modeling done, and then we'll start getting it ready for CNC work. So that should be pretty cool. You'll get to see sort of like the full kind of process from start to finish of how we can just sort of make something in Fusion, and then not only make it, but get it set up and ready to go so that it can resemble the object it's going to be cut out of, so that we can assemble it. You'll see what I mean. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and ask the poll questions, and then we'll, do the question and answer thing, and then I'll help you guys out with whatever. And then, well, we'll go from there. But again, once the poll questions are asked, if you don't have any questions of your own, if you don't need any help with anything, you're more than welcome to head out. We'll see you on Wednesday, and the YouTube video will be up tonight.